If you are not taking care of yourself, you are going to be a bit crap and your life is going to be a bit crap. Your brain will feel foggy, you'll have lower energy levels, you'll have inconsistent moods, you'll be nastier to yourself and the people around you. You'll struggle to focus and you'll become very self-centered. Self-care usually talks to the things that I've talked about before: drinking enough water, very important, getting in your nutrition, getting enough sleep. But in this video, I wanted to talk about 5 underrated and undervalued self-care activities that, if you integrate them into your day-to-day life, will significantly improve your life. For the most part, these are things that I've been trying to focus on this year, and every time I find myself focusing on them and making sure that I'm integrating them into my life has been better for it. Self-care activity number 1 is to plan in high-quality connection time. Earlier in my life, I thought that socializing was a nice waste of time. Seeing friends and connecting people was great, but it also was a distraction to doing things. It was just an interruption. Over time, I have had a radical shift in thinking on that front. Now I think that planning in time with friends and family is one of the most important self-care activities that you can plan into your life. At some point in my life, I started paying a lot more attention to what lifted me up and what brought me down. I started connecting my feelings with the activities that I was doing and the people that I was hanging out with in my days. And consistently, I found that spending high quality time with a good friend, having a really good conversation, would uplift me so freaking much. High quality connection is usually one-on-one for me. It's in a space where I feel comfortable, a space where I feel like I can talk about my thoughts and feelings and not be judged. Connection to me is as essential of a self-care activity as exercise and eating well. And even though that's based on how I feel when I connect with people, it's also backed by research. One landmark study showed that social connection is a greater determinant to health than obesity, smoking, and high blood pressure. It can strengthen your immune system, help you to recover from sickness faster, and lengthen your life. Feeling low in social connection makes you more vulnerable to anxiety, depression, and antisocial behavior. Connection in that sense doesn't necessarily mean having lots of conversations in your week and spending lots of social time. You can have 100 friends and still feel very disconnected. Connection is much more about how you feel internally, whether you feel like you are understood, whether you feel like you are part of something. But I do think that one way of building that sense of connection is having those high quality conversations and planning in regular time to see people. A quote that I wrote down the other day was, "Sustained proximity is the best route to the soul of someone." Self-care activity number 2 is having difficult conversations. Difficult conversations are necessary for a good life, and they are an essential self-care activity. If you aren't having difficult conversations with your partner, maybe your family, your friends, about things like your boundaries, your needs, and your relationships, then your life will be worse off for it, guaranteed. In my relationship, we've actually recently introduced a forum for difficult conversations just to make them easier to have in the form of a weekly marriage meeting. We've been doing this for nearly 2 months now. We usually sit down, list out all the things that we're grateful for about each other. We talk chores, we plan in a date night, which is one of my favorite parts, and we also raise problems and challenges. It's pretty much planned time to have difficult conversations. The way that I'm learning to approach anything that is difficult is through the non-violent communication method. It starts with an observation. For example, when I get home and see the dishes on the sink, then it moves into how you feel. So I feel overwhelmed and frustrated because I really need/value having a clean space for my mental health. Then it moves into, would you be willing to? So put your dishes away in the dishwasher next time. If difficult conversations is something that you struggle with, I highly recommend reading about the nonviolent communication method. I'm certainly not an expert in relationships, relationship building, solving problems, but that book has been game-changing for me. With difficult conversations, sometimes you get what you want. Sometimes you absolutely don't get what you want. Despite how delicately you approach it, you get a poor reaction. Regardless of the outcome, I think that difficult conversations are necessary because of how they make you feel and how they set you up to have more difficult conversations in the future. If you're not raising your problems, they will come out in other ways. You'll be more reserved when you speak to a person. You might have more passive-aggressive tendencies. You might make little remarks just as jabs because of this underlying issue that you have haven't brought up. Difficult conversations definitely aren't an exciting or nice self-care activity. They're definitely not comparable to a bubble bath, but I think that they are an essential self-care activity in your life. Self-care activity number 3 is thinking time. You know, when you have a problem in your life, maybe there's something weird happening with a friend, or you have a big decision to make, or you just feel really gross about how you left a conversation with your family. But instead of doing anything about it, you just kind of avoid it. And whenever your mind drifts to that thing that you're struggling with or that problem, it does a little dance over it and moves straight towards something far more pleasant to think about. So I, being the imperfect human being that I am, have absolutely experienced this. My brain is great at dodging things that are difficult. It does bloody split leaps over hard decisions. And it loves to move straight towards the easy stuff like answering emails or uploading videos of my cat on the Instagram. If you are always avoiding thinking about your problems, your struggles, and your decisions, it will lead to procrastinating and losing out on important opportunities. Big decisions will be made for you because you didn't make a decision at all, and words that you should have said will be left unsaid. And this is where I would suggest implementing thinking time into your life. The next time you notice yourself avoiding a thought, avoiding a feeling, avoiding a decision, instead of dipping right out, decide that you are going to schedule in time to just think on that thing. I have a video that I made recently where I talked about what I usually do in my intentional thinking time. I'm gonna have that linked up here and down below. This is such a bizarre activity for my nature. I am usually a doer. I like to just get things done. Thinking about things feels like a waste of time, but I've also found that it has been life-changing. This video is sponsored by Skillshare, which I think is a really good sponsor for this particular video because I've recently released a course on Skillshare that is all about going through some reflective exercises to discover what you want and get clarity and motivation. And I definitely think reflection is an under-discussed form of self-care. For a limited time, you can use the link in my description to get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. That way you can access my class on how to figure out what you want and get clarity and motivation. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. You can explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. Skillshare offers membership with meaning. There are so many classes to explore, there are real projects to create, and there's the support of fellow creatives. Skillshare offers creative classes that are designed for real life and all of the circumstances that come with it. These lessons help you to stay inspired, express yourself, and introduce you to a community of millions. There are so many classes that I know that you guys would enjoy. I have talked about before, but I particularly enjoy Mari Andrews' classes. There is Thomas Frank's classes on productivity, which are really good. I know that Nathaniel Drew recently released a class and a lot of you like him. Haven't actually watched it yet, however, I think it would be amazing. So I'll have the names of those classes listed in the description down below, as well as a few more that I like from Skillshare that I've previously done. Skillshare has classes in all of the topics, including learning the Adobe suite, there's watercolor, there's painting, there's growing your Instagram following, there's taking selfies, there's having a great Instagram feed, growing your business. I think there's one on doing e-commerce. There is literally all of the things. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, so there's no ads. They are always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and you can follow wherever your creativity takes you. And it is less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. At a time where so many important conversations are happening in our world, your voice is more essential than ever. Explore the classes on Skillshare to unlock your creativity for social good. Don't forget to click the link in the description down below. For a limited time, you'll be able to use that link to get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. Self-care activity number 4 is organizing your thoughts. If your mind is always overwhelmed by the tasks that you need to do, the projects you have unfinished, and all of the little to-dos, you are not going to be a functioning, happy, healthy human being. The best way to remove that overwhelm is to get into the practice of regularly organizing your mind. Just like cleaning and tidying your house is a self-care activity, I see organizing your mind as another self-care activity. By treating organizing your mind as a maintenance activity, something that you do in the form of maybe a weekly reset or just a weekly brain dump, you are being proactive in your self-care. A brain dump as a form of psychological self-care is probably a good starting point when it comes to organizing your mind. This could be done in the form of morning pages, it could be in the form of bullet points, regular journaling, or even just a really well-kept to-do app. I made a recent video all about how to organize your mind. I'm going to have that linked on the screen and down below in the description. I talk a lot more in depth about organizing your mind. You certainly don't need to go to those lengths, but it could be a good starting point just to get some ideas going for you. Self-care activity number 5 is getting life admin done. I see life admin as the small things like calling your doctor, getting your blood tested, booking in the wisdom tooth appointment, clearing out your pantry. Similar to not organizing your mind and keeping everything in your head, if you're not getting your little life admin tasks done, you're constantly splitting your attention. The way that Sophie Leroy, the Associate Professor of Management at the University of Washington, explained it was, if you have attention residue, you are basically operating with part of your cognitive resources being busy. And that can have a wide range of impacts. You might not be as efficient in your work, you might not be as good of a listener, you may get overwhelmed more easily, you might make errors, or struggle with decisions and your ability to process information. And that is what happens when you have a million little things undone that are weighing on your mind. I can remember a time in my life where I was really bad at getting these little things done. I never booked in my doctor's appointments, my dentist appointments, didn't get my blood tested. I just would procrastinate all of the little things because they felt so unimportant in the grand scheme of things. I actually found a notebook the other day where I had created goals around being a person that was better at getting my life admin done, at calling the doctor's place and booking the appointments, because I was so bad at doing it, particularly when it came to health related appointments. Now I have a life admin day once every month or 2 months. Usually you can feel when a life admin day is coming on. A life admin day may not be for everyone. It could be overwhelming for some. You might be someone who likes to have a life admin morning in your week, or maybe you do a little admin power hour on a daily basis. How you structure your batch life admin is entirely up to you, but I recommend having some way that you know you're integrating that life admin in your life. If you liked this video, you might like my video on 5 self-love habits, rituals that you can practice in your life. They're very like real, tangible ways that you can integrate self-love a little bit more in your day-to-day. I'm going to have that video linked on the screen as well as down below. I appreciate you so very much, and I will see you soon.